1914, talk begins in the British cabinet at the highest levels of promising a Jewish homeland to the Zionists. Talk begins of now carving out an independent Jewish homeland and giving it over to the Zionists. Now pause here. Who were the Zionists? The Zionists were a movement that began in the late part of the 19th century. A group of influential, powerful Jews in Europe began this movement, which was called Zionism. They called it Zionism, and it was called the World Zionist Federation Council. And the goal of Zionism was the establishment of an independent Jewish homeland, preferably in Jerusalem itself. Now, this is in 1880s, 1890s. They're already talking about this type of talk. And the most influential people in this movement were Theodor Herzl, who was basically the founder of the Zionist movement, and then Chaim Weizmann, who eventually becomes the first president of Israel. Chaim Weizmann becomes the first president of Israel. Now, interestingly enough, in the beginning, the Brits tried to promise them another land. And they said, why don't you choose Uganda in Africa? It's easier for us. Go to Uganda. We'll give you Uganda. Have your own independent land in Uganda. Now remember, the Brits controlled 1/4 of the world at the time. The Brits controlled much of Africa and India and all of these lands, the Far East. They're all under British control. And many countries in Africa were British protectorates. So they wanted to give a country they felt wouldn't be problematic. So they tried to convince them to take Uganda. And if they had said yes, history would have taken a whole different turn. Israel would have been in Africa. In the heart of Uganda, there'd be Israel over there, right? But they insisted. No, we only want Jerusalem. Our eyes are on the prize. We want Jerusalem. And eventually the British negotiated out and they agreed to support the Zionist cause. Now, this leads to a very, very big question. Why? Why would England, why would Britain want to support the Zionists? What are they gaining out of this? And here we have a whole bunch of theories, some of which border on conspiratorial and bizarre. Allah knows best. I will mention basically 4 reasons, and there are more than these. I will mention 4 reasons that at least the first 3 I kind of am sympathetic to, the last one I'm so-so about. The first reason that I think is very clear, and there's no denying this, the same reason why every single politician makes promise to members of his own congregation, his own group, and that is for their support. You make promises to your people, to segments of your people, right? When a politician is running for office, he's going to promise the gun holder something. He's going to promise the abortions something. He's going to promise, elderly people something. It's a part of what you do as a politician, right? You gather their support. And the Jewish population in England was, relatively speaking, powerful and wealthy. And like every political party, there's nothing sinister about this. What does a politician do? You want the support of those people. So the British Parliament felt the need to get the support of Britain's Jews. That's reason number 1. Directly from this reason number 2, one of the richest and most powerful Jews in all of England was Chaim Weizmann himself. And Chaim Weizmann in particular was very much needed by the British. Why? Because Chaim Weizmann wasn't just rich because of having some businesses and whatnot. He was in the business of producing acetone, which was a necessary ingredient in the manufacture of bombs and explosives. And with the advent of war, the price of acetone and the availability of acetone starts to become very, very important. And Chaim Weizmann was a chemist, by the way. And he patented a new technique of acetone. This is before World War I. This is basically a stroke of luck or whatever you want to call it, that his expertise was acetone. He had a company that produced acetone, and acetone is a necessary ingredient in the making of bombs. And the Brits now desperately need him to increase the supply of acetone by 1,000%. So it could be, and he happens to be the president or the secretary of the World Zionist Federation, right? So it could be that by promising him Jerusalem, you get him on your side. And this is a very logical and rational reason to promise something, right? And it is said that when the issue of payments came up, how much should England give Weizmann's company, how much would be the going rate, he's already a multi-billionaire, one of the richest men of Europe. His response was, I don't want any money, I want Palestine. I don't need any money from you, I want Palestine. That's my payment, right? And this makes sense, that why would he want any money when he himself is a very rich person? So it could be one of the reasons they're supporting the Zionist cause is to get Chaim Weizmann and his company to produce acetone, which is a very reasonable explanation as well. A third cause that is given, a third reason that is given, was hinted at by the person that was speaking in our video, and that is the Christian connection with Judaism and the fulfillment of the messianic prophecies of the second coming of Jesus. It is bizarre for most Muslims to know this, but actually many Christians are more pro-Zionist than most Jews. We as Muslims, most of us are ignorant about this. Some of the Christian fundamentalist groups are more pro-Zionist than Jewish groups. And the reason for this is because they believe that when the Holy Land is ready, Jesus Christ will return again. And they want to expedite the process. And no doubt fundamentalist Christians think Jews are misguided, but they think Jews are misguided because they haven't been updated yet. For us, they view us as being not even on the chart of misguidance. We're not even on that chart. We're completely off the charts. Jews are... They lost the plot because they didn't believe in Jesus. That's what they believe. For us, they believe we are not even on the path of guidance. So there's more sympathy to Jews, obviously, because in the end of the day, Jesus was a Jew. He came for the Jews. I mean, they all acknowledge this. There's more familiarity with the Jews, and we are considered to be heathens and barbarians and following a false prophet. That's their view. And the Prime Minister of England, Lloyd George at the time, was an ardent evangelical Christian. And he clearly had pro-Zionist and very Christian tendencies when he wants to conquer Jerusalem and whatnot. You see yourself, what you saw yourself, his statements and whatnot. And there's no denying that there's an element of pro-Zionism coming out of a Christian theology. Okay, so this is reason number 3. And again, I don't see any conspiracy here. It's pretty obvious. You believe in something, you're going to do it. The fourth reason given, this is where I say, Allahu A'lam, it's a bit of a conspiracy. I don't know. I'll just say it, and I don't know if it's true or not. There is a theory, you'll find it in a lot of books, but I'm not an expert in this, so I just mention it and I'll leave it at that. That by promising Palestine to the Jews, this was a bribe to certain high-ranking officials in the White House to try to drag America into the war as well. And this is a theory that is given. And they mention some names and whatnot, that this was some type of, promise that America would also get involved. And whatever the reasons might be, eventually these discussions between European Zionists and the British government continued until finally in August 1917, the discussion reaches the British cabinet. Now it's going to become official. Should we vote or not? And very interestingly, this is another interesting point, there was only one Jewish member of cabinet in that entire meeting. There was only one Jewish member. And that Jewish member was the most vocal opponent to the plan of giving Palestine to the Jews. And his name was, you can write this down, Edwin Samuel Montagu, M-O-N-T-A-G-U, Edwin Samuel Montagu. And what he said was, listen to this, and this is the only Jewish member of the cabinet, and he's one of the most vocal opponents to the plan of giving Palestine to the Jews. What he says was, this would cause great alarm in the Muslim world, would create enemies for us when we don't have enemies. So Muslims and Jews were not enemies to one another for the bulk of their history. And this is something that is shocking to modern Muslims and Jews, modern Christians. The fact of the matter, Muslims and Jews got along very well in what is now Palestine, up until the beginnings of Zionism. Muslims and Jews did not have too much problems. And here we have a senior member of the British Parliament who is a Jew saying that I am worried if you're going to do this, you're going to cause tensions between us. You're going to cause problems between us, and you're going to reinforce anti-Semitism and bigotry.